Hello, 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 and welcome to Nursing News You Can Use live at 5. I'm Tina Baxter, and I'm your host. And I just want to welcome everybody that are watching on our Facebook channels, on the Baxter Professional Services page and the Nurse Shark Academy page, and also those of you that are watching on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you can always get our great content. Well, today is Wednesday, and it's just before the holiday, the Thanksgiving holiday. So as you can tell, I'm not in the studio. I'm actually away traveling. And so I wanted to say happy Thanksgiving to everyone and thank you for being a great supporter of Baxter Professional Services and the Nurse Shark Academy. We do appreciate everything that you do for us. And so that is going to be our inspirational quote for today. Actually, it's just my gratitude and thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sticking with us for the last 3 years for this show. Very excited to be here. All right, let's go ahead and get into the news. So, our first story, and it's going to be a light news day because obviously everybody wants to get to the turkey tomorrow, right? So, light news day. This is coming from Fox 59 here in Indianapolis. Indy nurse charged with stealing drugs from hospital where she worked. Indianapolis nurse is facing criminal charges for allegedly stealing various drugs from the hospital where she worked. The investigation started in May when an attorney for Ascension St. Vincent alerted IMPD and the DEA of the alleged crime. Prosecutors believed a registered nurse at the neighborhood hospital at 86th and Allisonville Road began stealing various drugs, including Zofran, lidocaine, Caflex, and more in March and April. After a lengthy investigation this month, 46-year-old Michelle Lawson was charged with drug possession, theft, and fraud. From Special Agent Mike Gannon, DEA Assistant Special Agent in charge. When you have a person in the healthcare profession and they start doing these things they're not supposed to be doing, and they're in a position of trust, they need to be held accountable. They're in a position of trust, and when they violate that trust, there are repercussions. Gannon praised Ascension St. Vincent for bringing this case to light. The hospital suspended and fired Lawson in May. Yet on at least two occasions, including one time after she lost her job, prosecutors claim the suspect called in a fake prescription to CVS Pharmacy on East Washington using the name of a real Ascension doctor. While a vast majority of healthcare workers are trustworthy, federal investigators said the case still serves as an important warning. Gannon goes on to say, it's just scary stuff when you have people doing that because there's so many good people in the healthcare industry. According to the affidavit, the suspect admitted she stole the medications for herself and later tested positive for oxycodone and other medications in her system. Because of thousands of people who have died from drug overdoses across Indiana last year, the DEA encourages anyone struggling with addiction to seek treatment. We're always tried to tell people misuse of a drug can lead to abuse. If somebody is misusing drugs or if they have a drug problem, please go out and get the necessary help that's available. The suspect has made her initial hearing and was released on bond pending trial. Our next story is coming out of Oklahoma. Woman adopts terrified girl hiding in nursing facility, then came a second surprise. An administrator at a skilled nursing facility in Oklahoma City area was shocked to find a terrified and hungry 9-year-old girl hiding behind a recliner in a resident's room. Savannah Pat knew what she had to do next. She looked at me and she wouldn't talk at all. And I was like, who is this? And she said, oh, that's my granddaughter, Pat said. She smelled terrible. She was very dirty. She didn't have shoes. 9-year-old Renly had been hiding in her grandma's room for a week after a neighbor dropped her off at the facility after finding the tiny girl living alone with her older brother for weeks. Their home was a hoarded trailer in southeast Oklahoma City that they shared with, quote, a ton of cats and dogs, little Renly said. She also remembers holes in the floor, filth, and feces. For Renly, food was scarce, and so were her parents. Pat said they are lifelong addicts who would force Renly to panhandle with them on the street corners for drug money. They would take the food stamps and trade them for drugs, Pat said. They hoisted her into dumpsters and they would go dumpster diving. Rinley had a case of lice that prevented her from returning to school until they were gone. But with no one to help her get rid of them, she never returned to school that year until Pat stepped in. I fell in love with her, said Pat, who was thrilled at a chance to adopt Rinley. 10 years have passed, and Rinley can now say she has lived with her adopted family longer than she did with her birth family. Now 19, Rinley's life has been transformed by the gift of adoption. She said, I don't know where I'd be without my mom. I don't, she said, with tears in her eyes. I was born with meth and heroin and pretty much every drug you can think of in my system as a baby. But Rinley has broken the chains of generational addiction with the help of her adoptive mother. It's amazing, Rinley smiled, to just feel loved and safe. Fighting Rinley all those years ago was not the only shock Pat experienced. A couple years after adopting her, Pat received a phone call asking if she also wanted Rinley's older sister, 13, whom Rinley hardly knew. Cheyenne had been tossed around between relatives and acquaintances her whole life. She had been left at a Circle K gas station in Yukon, Oklahoma, Pat said, adding that the woman Cheyenne was living with no longer wanted her. Cheyenne didn't know I was coming, and I pull up. She was sitting outside, and she looks at me. I roll down the window, and she said, What are you doing here? I said, You want to live with me? She said, You want me? And I said, Yeah, girl. Pat became a mom of two after also adopting Cheyenne. People are like, oh, you saved them. No, no, friends. They saved me because having them made me want to be better, Pat said. Cheyenne and Rinley became the first in their family to graduate from high school. Rinley is now on track to getting a college nursing degree. She hopes to pour love over the patients just like her mom did for her 10 years earlier. Her finding me in a room, and now I'm going to be kind of working with people like that, Rinley said. She also wants to transform another child's life through adoption. Whether they're clean, dirty, whatever, they deserve love too. I mean, they deserve to be happy and have a home and be safe and to not worry about where they're going to get their next meal, she said. Pat added the attachment and bond that you get that you're choosing to love and they're choosing to love is so beautiful. Rinley's older brother was taken in by another family and she hopes to one day reunite with him. And the story goes on to say that currently there are more than 390,000 children and teens across the country in foster care hoping to find a permanent family. So November is National Adoption Month, and if you would like to adopt a child anywhere in your state, please look up your local agencies to make sure that you're able to uh, adopt a child. And I'm glad that we have another potential nurse coming into the fold. And I think if it hadn't been for that administrator finding that child in the nursing home and then instead of turn it into a big ordeal for the resident, but adopting her, I think that was wonderful. And then adopting her sister. So, Rinley, you are a nurse in training to make a difference. And we thank you for sharing your story. That's all for now. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is going to be a very short episode. We'll be back next week for our nursing news live at 5. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you'll know when our new episodes go up. And also, don't forget our other podcast, the Nurse Shark Academy Show, which we just had our latest episode drop on Monday. So if you haven't checked it out, head on over to our YouTube channel or to Podbean, and you can check out the Nurse Shark Academy Show. I want to thank you for your time and have a great happy Thanksgiving.